Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of AP US Government and Politics on AP for Teens. Today we're going to go over the guys who made the Constitution. So with that, let's get started. Now in this video we're going to go over a couple of different things. We're going to go over a small amount of the Enlightenment. Now when I say Enlightenment, I'm not talking about Buddha-like Enlightenment. I'm talking more along the lines of the intellectual Enlightenment period. We're also going to study 4 different people who helped the Constitution of the United States be formed. Now, not directly, of course. These are more European people that have influenced the US Constitution writers. And let's go ahead and start off with that. So, the Enlightenment period. Now, what was the Enlightenment? Now, the Enlightenment is a period, now depending on your source, it could start as early as the 1600s and end as late as 1800, which brought forth a lot of different philosophical ideas, changing the way about how people thought. Now, in the Enlightenment's case, they changed the way that the people thought about government. Now, it was located primarily in Europe, as I mentioned before, and mainly Western Europe. We're talking countries like Great Britain, France, Spain, Germany, Portugal to a certain extent. Those were the countries that really had this Enlightenment sort of feel. You get the Enlightenment compared to a lot of other movements in the past, such as the Scientific Revolution and the Renaissance period, but the Enlightenment has its own specialty, which is why it's really important in AP US government and politics. Now, it focused on the usage of reason rather than traditional ideas to solve social problems. In the past, people relied on tradition to continue their general path towards success because people didn't want to change their ideas. They didn't want to see and take a risk, worrying that that risk might not pay off. Instead of that, however, people began to reason. Scientists and enlightened thinkers started to use reasoning to be able to develop their ideas. And a few of these philosophers directly helped in creating the ideas of the constitutions, primarily Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Charles de Montesquieu, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. So we're going to start off by going over the first guy on the list, Thomas Hobbes. Now, Thomas Hobbes, not quite the Calvin and Hobbes type of Hobbes, although his name does come from Thomas Hobbes. We're going over that Thomas Hobbes, the guy with barely any hair in the front of his head, and a lot of other old-timey sort of feel. Now, he was born in 1588 and died in 1679. He was born in Malmesbury, UK. And he wrote a book in 1660 called Leviathan. It's got a longer title, but Leviathan is the term that most people know it as, which explained that if humans were left alone to conduct their own reasoning without any government whatsoever, life would be doomed from the beginning. He believed that an absolute monarch is the best sort of system to guard the freedom of life, which isn't quite exactly what Hobbes likes. Now, John Locke, on the other hand, is the guy who he's most compared with. Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, while never actually meeting, do generally have opposite sort of views. He was born in 1632 and died in 1704. He was born in Rington, England, and he gave more rights to the people in terms of his philosophy. He gave them in his book, Second Treatise on Civil Governments, published in 1690. He gave them the right to liberty and property in his book. Now, he believed that people should have, and to quote him, life, liberty, and property, which sounds very familiar because it's used in the United States culture. It's seen in the Declaration of Independence with the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, if these rights were not protected by a government, the people would be able to create a new government, which was different from what Thomas Hobbes believed in that the monarch should stay the monarch and let it continue. The next guy we're going to go over is Charles de Montesquieu, who was born in 1689 and died in 1755. He was born in La Breda, France, and influenced the founders greatly, immensely, because he, in his book De l'Esprit des Lois, or The Spirit of the Laws, written in 1748, he believed that the power of government should be separated between 3 different branches. And as you can see here, a picture of those 3 branches. If you don't know what they are, we'll go over them later. But just know that he wanted to separate them into different branches to separate the powers and allowing each part of government to not have full control. The final person is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who was born in 1712 and died in 1778. Now, he was born in Geneva, in the Republic of Geneva at the time, and he believed that there was only one true good type of government, and that government was one with the consent of the people. Now, the people would create a social contract with the government, an agreement among the people. And this social contract would make sure that the government didn't infringe on the people's rights, and the people would give up a number of their rights in exchange for the protection from the government. It was sort of a deal between the citizens of a country and the government of that country. So, to go over a quick list of the people, here we are: Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Charles de Montesquieu, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Thomas Hobbes believed that the humans needed government to protect life. John Locke believed that life, liberty, and property were necessary for life, and revolution could be used if the government wasn't fulfilling those freedoms of life, liberty, and property. Charles de Montesquieu believed in 3 branches of government. He believed that powers had to be separated. And finally, Jean-Jacques Rousseau is the man who has invented the social contract. Alright, that's going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching this episode. As always, please make sure to subscribe, leave a comment or like in the section below. Also answer the question that's down below, just checking your knowledge about the entirety of this video. Thank you so much for watching it again. Please step by next time for the next episode, and we'll see you then. Take care.